still about the domain and the range. The definition of a function is not really complete unless its domain is specified explicitly. The natural domain for a function f is usually the set of all real numbers. But for economic model, the domain is specified as the set of non-negative integers, or in more general, the natural domain is the set of number 0, 1, 2, and so on until x null. The reason why in economic model we use as the set of non-negative integer for the domain is because it is nonsense to talk about negative domain. For an example, we talk about the cost of production, which is dependent to the amount of Q, or the number of goods produced. When production is in halt and we don't do any production, then it is automatically that the Q equals to 0. We don't say that the Q is negative. Or when we talk about quantity, demand, and price, then it is nonsense to have a negative price. There is free good, but the price is not negative, but the price is just equal to 0. So that is the reason why in economic model we have a non-negative integer as the domain. Now, as a general rule, how to specify the domain, we can take this rule here. It is said here that if a function is defined using an algebraic formula, the domain consists of all values of the independent variable for which the formula gives a unique value, unless another domain is explicitly mentioned. So what does this rule mean? We can take an example here. Let's take fx is equal to 1 over x plus 3. For this function to have a result, we don't want the denominator equals to 0 because 1 over 0 is undefined. Thus, to avoid the denominator to be equal to 0, we should solve the denominator. X plus 3 should not equal to 0, then x would not equal to minus 3. So the domain for this function would be all real number except x equals to minus 3. Another example is we have the function of x equals to the square root of 2x plus 4. For a square root function, we cannot have a negative square root, right? Thus, for this function to have a result, the domain would be we could solve this equation first. Yeah, it should be positive. So 2x plus 4 would equal to or be greater than 0. Thus, we will have 2x equal to or greater to minus 4. X is greater to or equal to minus 2. So we would have the domain would be an interval where the domain start with minus 2 until positive infinity. Because if it's less than 2, let's say minus 3, then 2 times minus 3 minus 6 plus 4 is minus 2. Square root from minus 2, it doesn't have any result. Or a more smaller number, let's say minus 100, minus 2 times minus 100 is minus 200, plus 4 is minus 196. Square root of minus 196, no result. So that's how we define this convention. Yeah. That's all about function and the basic terms in function and how to specify the domain and range.